Hey guys, Chester Westerford here. So, Big Finish always have a slew of good audios coming out every year, but looking at this year's lineup, they seem to have some especially good audios coming out this year. So, since I was excited about it, I decided to count down the top 10 audios I'm looking forward to from Big Finish this year. I say countdown, but it's not really a countdown as I'm going in order of release date rather than how excited I am for them. A couple of these might have already come out, the March ones, I'm not sure, I haven't looked to see if they're available yet. But without further discussion, let's begin. So, a while back I released a video listing ideas I had for spin-offs that I would love to see Big Finish do. While none of those exactly made this list, my first entry is kind of like half of what I said. So in March we're going to be getting the 8th of March Volume 2. Of course, the 8th of March, in case you don't know, are box sets released on National Women's Day to celebrate some of the women in the Doctor Who lore. The first story will feature Romana and K9 shortly after Warrior's Gate. The second story will feature both Jenny, the Doctor's daughter, and Lady Christina D'Souza. That sounds like it'll be a lot of fun. But the story I'm most intrigued by, and that I referred to, is The Turn of the Tides by Nina Millins, and will feature Ronnie Chandra post-Sarah Jane Adventures teaming up with Joe Jones and Science Officer Jack from The Magician's Apprentice and the Zygon Invasion, in case you don't know who she is. So yeah, that's half of what I was asking for. I'm really excited to see how this plays out. I think it's great that the Sarah Jane Adventures is finally sort of continuing in some form. I just think the show had some great characters who could live beyond the initial series, and, well, here it begins. I say begins because knowing Big Finish probably won't be a one-time thing, unless it's a total disaster, which I doubt. Or if the actress doesn't want to come back, which, knowing Big Finish, if they are planning to do more, they probably recorded it 2 years ago. Either way, I'll be getting this one when it comes out, and hopefully reviewing it. Second audio in March that I'm most excited about, Mind of the HODIAC. Why am I excited about this? Well, as you probably already know, this was adapted from a script Russell T Davies, yes, that Russell T Davies, the once and future showrunner of Doctor Who, wrote in the 80s. So basically we get a peek into the fanfic mind of a young RTD and see what his stories would be like featuring classic doctors, or at least one classic doctor. Yeah, I know it's adopted by Scott Hancock, so this version of the script is not actually written by RTD, it's just based on something he wrote, but I'm sure it stayed pretty close and will still be very interesting. And also, I think Six and Mel are kind of an underrated duo. They only got a brief time together on screen, but I always wished we'd had more, so I always look forward to their audio adventures. Now moving on to an April release, we have Doctor Who Unbound, Doctor of War. Speaking of giving us more of everything, we move on to something that we, well, haven't had in a while. Unbound. For those who don't know, it's sort of to Doctor Who what If is to Marvel. It takes place within a parallel universe or universes where the writers can explore concepts that could not be explored within the main continuity of the rest of the series. This one in particular sounds particularly interesting. The story is set around the premise of what if the Fourth Doctor had touched those two wires together in Genesis, deciding he had the right to destroy the Daleks once and for all. The universe diverges into another timeline, and Colin Baker becomes the Doctor of War. What this means exactly, we have yet to find out. If you want more information on any of these releases, I will be posting links in the description. Some interesting inclusions to this set are that it will apparently feature the Kralls, Narvin, Jeffrey Beaver's master, and a new Unbound Universe Romana played by actress Rebecca Knight. I'm always intrigued to hear a new incarnation of Romana, and I'm kind of surprised Big Finish hasn't done it more often. So this will be interesting. And moving on to June, we have The War Master. Self-Defense. The first of the June releases on this list is the next entry in the fabulous War Master series, a series I've really been enjoying. I thought Anti-Genesis and Hearts of Darkness were kind of weak, but all the other sets have knocked the quality out of the park as far as I'm concerned. This latest box set will feature the War Master up against David Tennant's 10th Doctor. There isn't too much information on this release that I've heard, but we do have episode titles, writers, and a short description that reads as follows. The Time War incarnation of the Doctor's best enemy is back, and the two Time Lords face each other once more, but who remembers whom? There are so many ways this story could go. By the sounds of it, I'm wondering if Ten will know who he is, but he will not recognize the Doctor as he hasn't met this face yet? Don't know, but I'm excited to find out. Also in June, we will see the return of Unit's Brigadier Bambara from the Season 26 story Battlefield, and her further adventures in Unit, Brave New World. I know it's not a very popular opinion, but I really like Battlefield, and I always did wish we could see more of Brigadier Bambara, so I'm glad she's finally getting her own series. Things we know about the set are that it will be set in the late 1990s, and joining Angela Bruce's Brigadier Bambara will will be Alex Jordan as her sarcastic second-in-command, Sergeant Jean-Paul Savarin. And what would a unit team be without a scientific advisor, this time in the form of Dr. Louise Reeks, played by, and I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of this name. Yeah, I'm not even going to try. Here's her name. Yeah, it'll be really cool to see Bambera in action again, and filling in a gap between the classic series unit and the new series unit sounds like a really intriguing idea. How far they will go with that concept we'll have to wait and see, but I think some really interesting stuff could be done there with the older ways versus newer high-tech ways of the oncoming 21st century. Also, here as an honorable mention, I would like to say that she apparently will also be joining the new unit team in Unit Nemesis 2. Agents of the VULPREEN. Moving into July, we have the third in the Out of Time series, Wink. And this time it's Colin Baker and David Tennant teaming up against the Weeping Angels. Need I say more? Even better in July, and this one I'm really excited about. Again, not much information has been released so far, but what we know we're getting is beyond war games. All we know is that following his appearance in The Annihilators, Michael Troughton will once again be starring in the role his father created as the Second Doctor, and it will be set during the fabled Season 6B. In case you don't know, Season 6B was a period that fans have theorized may have taken place between the Second Doctor's trial and his actual regeneration. The reason it exists is basically to solve the inconsistency of the two Doctors, where the Second Doctor and Jamie state they are working for the Time Lords. Why is this a problem? Well, spoiler alert in case you haven't seen the War Games, the Doctor doesn't tell Jamie and his other companion Zoe about the Time Lords until just before his trial and subsequent regeneration. So it's quite impossible that they knew about and would have been working for them before that. So basically it's long been a fan theory, and it's been worked into a few other things too, I believe, that the Second Doctor, Jamie, and another companion, Victoria, were all forced to go on missions for the Time Lords before he actually regenerates into John Pertwee. Since we never actually see the regeneration itself, it works. Kinda. It's not a perfect solution to the problem, but I always thought it was kind of a cool idea, and I'm glad to see it being recognized here. The cast page only officially lists Michael Troughton, but I think we can be fairly sure that Fraser Hines will be back as Jamie, especially since he appeared in The Annihilators. What I am curious about, though, is if they will recast Victoria. She was not in The Annihilators, but she was referenced as traveling with them, even though we didn't see her, during the period of the two Doctors, and therefore she would have had to have been there for at least part of Season 6B. I do hope they decide to include her. I feel it would just be strange if they didn't, since they're recasting so much anyway, but again, we'll have to wait and see. Moving on to August, we have the only non-Doctor Who related audio drama in this list, and it's the latest entry in Big Finish's classic range, Jekyll and Hyde. So why am I looking forward to this? Well, I'm a big classic horror fan, and I really enjoyed their previous adaptations of horror classics like Frankenstein, The Invisible Man, their Dracula series, The Phantom of the Opera, which was one of the first Big Finish audios I ever heard. Big Finish always does a terrific job of adapting these classic novels, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with this one. Apparently, it's not only adapted from the book, but also from a 2016 touring production adapted and directed by Nick Briggs. It being a UK production, I of course never saw it. I didn't even know it existed, so I don't know what to expect from this adaptation, but if it's as good as the past entries into the classic range, I'm really looking forward to finding out. And now coming to September, the second to the last on this list is 10th Doctor Classic Companions. Yeah, I know, a lot of my list is fan service, but that's a lot of what Big Finish do. I'm sure they do it not only because they are fans, but I'm sure it's what sells the best. And this one ought to sell good. It's the 10th Doctor revisiting old companions and having new adventures with them. The first story, Splinters by John Dorney, will find the 10th Doctor meeting K9 and Leela in the aftermath of the Time War. In the second episode, 10 and K9, who I guess must be traveling with him for a while, enter a virtual world of a movie stuntman to help Nyssa escape a Time War criminal scheme. And the final story is Quantum of Axos by Roy Gill, in which Ace investigates a new tech company which seems too good to be true, and meets the Doctor and K9 as Axos escapes his trap. I'm always up for a good mashup story like this, and the fact that a couple of them feature the Time War aftermath, well, that really seems to keep well with the character and era of the 10th Doctor. There's a part of me that wonders if the Nyssa story might have something to do with how her episode in Killing Time ended. Be cool if it was. I kinda hoped they would do a follow-up to that story. I also wonder, with it saying he revisits his companions, interesting choice of words. Does this take place during that end of time period where he goes to see everyone, apparently before he regenerates? I hope not. That was already a stretch, And to throw adventures in there would be even more of a stretch. It's like, what, he's holding off his regeneration through all these fun adventures? But like I've said several times in this list, we'll just have to wait and see. And now the last entry on this list, also being released in September, is 42. Obviously a continuation of the set released earlier this year, 41, which was released to celebrate the anniversary of the Fifth Doctor's adventures beginning on television. This one will presumably see the Fifth Doctor finally figure out what or who has been sending him up and down his time stream. Besides knowing the first story is called the Auton Infinity and is written by Tim Foley, Big Finish again haven't released too much information that I could find on this one. The only other thing confirmed on the official page is that it will once again feature the TARDIS team of Adric, Tegan, and Nyssa, and presumably in story 2, Turlo, and depending on when they said it, possibly Tegan and Nyssa there as well. It will also feature, though, John Colshaw once again playing the Brigadier. Considering the first story in the previous set was a direct sequel to the Tomb of the Cybermen, and if you haven't heard that yet, you should go back and listen to it. It's actually quite good. But anyways, I'm guessing the Auton Infinity might be a direct sequel to either Spearhead from Space or Terror of the Autons, or both. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just a unit story like a spiritual successor. But either way, once again, sorry to repeat myself, I guess we'll find out. And I'm looking forward to doing so. So there's my list. Now I'm going to try and review as many of these as I can, but my budget limits me as to how many I can buy, like, upon initial release. I'll get them all eventually, I just can't guarantee I'm going to get them right when they come out. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you guys think? Do you have any Big Finish audios you're looking forward to this year? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.